XRP has delivered bigger monthly gains than some stocks produce in 10 years. And the last time the macro environment lined up exactly the way it does today, XRP jumped more than 70% in a single month. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but it often rhymes. And December tends to rhyme the loudest. In this video, we're breaking down the biggest question XRP investors are asking. How high can XRP realistically go by the end of December? No hype, no fantasy targets, just data, real market behavior, and a few surprising signals that most people haven't noticed yet. Before we start, here's a challenge. If you had to guess the exact XRP price on December 31st, what would your number be? Not a range, one number. Keep it in mind while we go through the scenarios. Your first instinct might reveal more than you think. Here's something almost no one asks. Why does XRP sometimes make sharp moves even when other altcoins stay flat? The answer often comes down to one thing: liquidity. When the Federal Reserve indirectly increases liquidity through money markets, assets built for rapid settlement, like XRP, react much faster than speculative coins. When liquidity flows, XRP wakes up. Watching liquidity can often predict most major shifts. December has never been a normal month for XRP. Historically, it's the month of sudden reversals, plus 64% in 2017, plus 20% in 2020, plus 38% in 2021. Even in weaker years, volatility still jumped more than 30%. December is loaded with end-of-year portfolio rotation, tax optimization, and major macro announcements. It breaks the usual rules. That's why you should never treat December like any other month. Think of Bitcoin as the gravity of the crypto market. When Bitcoin attracts liquidity, XRP follows, but usually with stronger percentage moves once it starts trending. Every time Bitcoin breaks a major level, XRP tends to move within 1 to 3 days. Bitcoin opens the door, XRP accelerates through it. So XRP's outcome this month depends heavily on where Bitcoin stabilizes. In the fourth quarter, market models tend to break. Institutions rebalance, hedge funds lock in their yearly performance, and retail traders hope for a final rally. This creates a unique storm of liquidity and tension that pushes volatility higher. Q4 doesn't behave normally. Expecting volatility is smarter than fearing it. Right now, 3 technical levels matter for XRP: 190, 220, and 250. Below 190, bearish pressure increases. Above 220, buyers take control. But 250 is the real hinge point. If XRP breaks above that level, it opens a path to the upper $2 zone quickly. These levels matter more than most people think. Technical zones can shape an entire month's direction. Here are 2 interesting facts. First, XRP has seen several days of institutional inflows even while other altcoins struggled. Second, those inflows appear small individually, but the signal behind them is huge. Institutions don't position for a week, they position for a cycle. Someone with size is preparing for something. Many still underestimate how much the end of the SEC lawsuit changed the XRP landscape. The immediate effect was removing a psychological ceiling. The secondary effect is far bigger. Institutions can finally hold XRP without legal uncertainty or compliance restrictions. The legal cloud is gone. XRP's future moves will now depend on the market, not on a courtroom. Here's something most investors don't realize. More than 60% of XRP's daily volume comes from derivatives. And in December, funding rates often swing sharply. Long positions can get liquidated during sudden fakeouts, causing exaggerated downward spikes. Derivatives amplify every decision. Before expecting a rally, funding rates and open interest should always be monitored. Whales, large holders with millions in XRP, act very differently in December. They accumulate quietly and intentionally create small dips to shake retail investors out. It's a common technique: manufacture fear to gather liquidity. Whales don't panic. They strategize. Following their behavior offers clues that charts alone can't reveal. A weaker US dollar combined with a Federal Reserve pause creates an environment where alternative assets thrive. XRP tends to outperform in these conditions because it benefits from lower rates and renewed appetite for risk assets. When the Fed steps back, altcoins step forward. That's why macro announcements matter so much in December. If you appreciate analysis based on data rather than hype, make sure you subscribe. And tell me in the comments which scenario you think is most likely. The biggest risk isn't macro or technical, it's overconfidence. Many XRP holders assume the price has to go up, but markets don't work that way. Nothing is guaranteed. Overconfidence blinds investors to important signals. Confidence is good, but discipline wins every time. 3 December events could shift the entire market. The non-farm payroll report, the ISM data, and institutional end-of-year positioning. These moments often compress volatility and then release it suddenly. These dates can change everything. Mark them before entering major trades. Now let's talk scenarios. The bullish but realistic case is simple. Bitcoin stays strong, macro conditions remain neutral or positive, and institutional inflows continue. If that happens, XRP could realistically target between 260 and 285 by December 31st. This is possible, not guaranteed. The 250 level is your confirmation. The neutral scenario assumes limited volatility and no major surprises. XRP would likely range between 210 and 240. This is the most probable scenario if markets remain steady. A stable market is still a result. Sometimes trading the range is smarter than waiting for a breakout. The bearish short-term scenario comes into play if Bitcoin drops or macro data disappoints. Under those conditions, XRP could revisit the 185 to 195 range. This isn't a collapse, just a technical reset. Pullbacks are normal, and they don't invalidate the long-term thesis. Using XRP's average 30-day volatility and removing extreme outliers, the expected boundary is about plus or minus 22%. That places XRP between 190 and 270 by month end. These numbers are clear. Probabilities matter more than emotions. When you blend macro data, technical levels, institutional flows, volatility patterns, and seasonal behavior, the final realistic projection becomes a 3-part range. Bearish, 185 to 195. Neutral, 210 to 240. Bullish, 260 to 285. And the key level separating the paths is 250. That number decides everything. Breakouts change the game. Here's what truly matters in the final days of the month. Bitcoin's main support levels, institutional inflows, funding and open interest, macro data, and whale wallets. If these factors line up, a strong end of December rally becomes possible. Discipline always beats hope. Make decisions based on data, not wishes. So how high can XRP really go by the end of December? The answer isn't fantasy. It's a combination of probabilities, price zones, and real-world signals. 3 scenarios, 1 decisive level, and a clear roadmap to follow. In the next video, we'll break down XRP's full projection for the first quarter of 2025, and that outlook may be even more surprising. Not professional advice. Consult a qualified expert if needed.